Okay, I'm going to begin. Good day, everyone. This is Don Larson. Uh, Welcome to the webinar on how to cost-effectively maintain your CGM graphics. We'll be demonstrating the new version of VizEx Edit. Before we get started with the actual webinar, the procedures we use during this webinar is all attendees will be muted for the duration of the webinar. If you experience any problems when joining or while we're going, use your questions window over there and we'll give that some attention. Questions during the webinar can be posted in your questions window, and then questions will be answered towards the end of the webinar, where we'll give everybody a chance to, there'll be an opportunity to address your questions with time allowing, and then if not, we'll follow up with an email to address those questions. So we welcome your questions. Before we get into the actual demonstration part of the webinar, for those of you that are not familiar with the VizEx Edit, well, it originally was called Live Edit, but in the last year it's been called VizEx Edit. Briefly what it is, it's a native CGM editor, which means it preserves your intelligence, your CGM data, your vector data and metadata. And preserving the intelligence we think is important, because if you ever worked with a general purpose editor that can open CGM and you found that your curves and your ellipses all of a sudden turn to a bunch of points, you'll find that quite annoying, and plus it makes it hard to edit, and so that's what I mean by it preserves intelligence. In addition to accepting CGM, it accepts several other formats: CAD files in the form of DWG, DXF, Illustrator files from Illustrator, EPS files from other graphics programs, EMFs, PDFs, and some raster formats like JPEG and TIFF. It's a multi-window program. That means you can open multiple CGMs at once and look at them, compare them, cut and paste portions from one, extract part of one graphic and move it to another one. It has a tree view window, which makes all of your metadata visible and editable. And then finally, it saves as CGM version 4 or an SVG with hotspots. First, I'm going to address the new features. We now have a properties window. Before, the attributes were all editable, but they weren't as the graphic edit, they weren't as visible and changeable. So now we think that makes it much more convenient to work with your things like line weights and whether or not you're filling objects and what you're filling them with, text and text attributes, call-out properties, which is an easy way of annotating illustrations. Next new feature is the magnetic properties, or sometimes called object gravity. That allows you now to snap to what we're calling them snap to things, which sometimes they're referred to in CAD systems. That is, you can snap to a grid, you can snap to the endpoints of lines or line segments, you can snap to the midpoints of lines or line segments, or you can snap to the nearest object, or finally snap to the center of things like arcs and ellipses. So a nice feature there that helps you quickly connect objects and align objects to save time. And then in another new feature, we now have isometric grid lines and isometric views. Those isometric grid lines also have magnetic properties. It's useful for aligning objects, and lines that will be drawn when snapped to grid lines in the isometric mode allow you to draw isometrically. Now some of the key features we think we're going to highlight in this demo is metadata editing. I made a point about being a unique feature of VizEx Edit. So we're going to show you how you can do metadata editing, which allows you to manage all your graphic objects and their things like IDs and name attributes, links, tooltips, which are those little yellow boxes that show up when you go in your viewer, and then viewer behavior for more advanced control of your interactivity of your graphics. Another unique feature is the callout and hotspotting tools. That means you can take a drawing and quickly add hots or add callouts and automatically hotspot them while you're doing them. And so that's a key feature. And then the last thing I'm going to show you is how we can quickly transform graphics that come from, let's say, extract from a PDF file. Often PDFs, legacy PDFs can have actually good vector graphics in them, and we can pull them out and work with them and make them into a drawing quickly, into a CGM drawing. And then we can also pull from CAD files. Gives you full control of that while you're importing them over layers and drawing elements. Well, often CAD drawings are embellished with a lot of extra information that are there for the engineering or manufacturing process, but they're not what you want to. It's not what you want to publish. So we're going to show you how we can quickly take and extract from a CAD file and get rid of the stuff we don't want. Okay, now here's onto the actual live demo. I'm going to pull up Live Edit. Okay, first I'm going to show you the new features, and then we'll go into more detail about these other key features. Over to the right is that properties window over here. That shows you your line fill text attributes. So when you click on an object, it's going to show it over in the right what it's like its line type, width, and then if you want to change it, you can simply change it through that interface. And then we have all these, a lot more control of the arrows, arrow types, arrow style, or arrow sizes. We've got the fill window. If you've got filled objects, you can control the style of filling, various filling modes there. And then here's where there's full control of your text. So if I select text element, we see how all those properties appear. So we don't have any, and then also the callouts would be controlled and visible through there and their settings. So that's the properties window. It's detachable. So if you're in multi-screen or something, you want to have more view of your graphic, you can move that off and move it to the side. The next feature that I'd like to show you is we talked about the magnetic properties of objects, and the best way to show you that is to just take some simple elements here and show you how they would work. Up here, up in the upper toolbar at the top is where we control these snap to or magnetic properties of objects. So first one I'm going to show you is the snap to endpoint. So if I take and draw a line, as I draw a line, now as I get close to those endpoints or the line segments of this polyline or the end of curves or anything that has an endpoint like the rectangle corners, it will snap to that. So that makes it easily to line and connect objects. Next one I'll show you is the snap to midpoint, and it's a very similar to the end of a line that snaps to the midpoint. Same with segments, rectangles, and the third snap to is snap to nearest, and this is it's common in most graphics packages, probably what you're most familiar to, but now instead of snapping to a specific point, it snaps to anywhere on that. So you see how it tracks that curve or that edge or rectangle or that ellipse. The next snap to and last snap to point is snap to center point, and that applies to snapping to ellipses, or if you have an arc which has a center, it'll snap to that. Oops, I haven't got it on. Let me do that again. Okay. So, okay, now we can see, yeah, so it gravitates to that, to the center of that arc, center of the ellipse, center of these ellipses down here. One useful application we find for that is to, if you want to line something up precisely with these, let me draw a new line and see how we can see it aligns nicely with those two ellipses. And so this is a good opportunity now to show you the isometric views. So I'm going to turn on the grid lines. We have a toggle there on the toolbar now to go between isometric and parallel grid lines. So if we do that, now we can show you see how those ellipses aligned exactly with those grid lines. If we wanted to, let's say, make one nice application, I think, is make those align like that just by duplicating. We know it's precisely aligned with the center of those ellipses, so it's going to align with the tangents of them automatically. So those are the snap to functions and grid line control. I'm going to turn those off now, so that I can now proceed to the next feature. Well, that's the next feature was the isometric grid lines, which you're seeing now. And so, of course, there's a snap to function for that also, so that you can snap to the grid points of isometric. And so now, if we should do like a line draw, we'll see how they nicely connect. Everything stays on the isometric grid lines. So there you can have nice alignment. If you had a previously authored isometric view from another editor and you wanted to add things, this is going to make it easy and to make everything align and connect. Now I'd like to show you some of the key features that I alluded to. I talked about the multi-window. We can see here how we've got multiple windows showing. The present, you can see that we've got tabs at the top, so we can switch back and forth. You can also do things like, if you wanted to see them both at once, you can drag the main screen and split the view. So makes it very handy to compare drawings, and like I said, you could copy and paste parts of one to another. There's also other controls, like you can, if you wanted to put all of them in a into like a horizontal or like a tiled view, you can do that too. So lots of control of this multi-window capabilities. Now for the next thing, I had said that we have metadata view, or we call it the tree view, and that's this window over to the left. And in that, you'll see that this is a previously authored drawing. It's got hotspots, callouts, but you can see that all of its metadata is visible to the left and also editable through that window. I'm going to show you, like, if I select something in the metadata view, we see how it gets selected there, so it makes it easy quickly to kind of relate your things and see what you're doing. When you're on an object, then you can also do things like highlight it. If you have trouble finding it, that highlight feature makes it nice to turn it on and makes it very visible. We talked about the ability to edit it, so you can either, like, you can actually click on this in the metadata view, in the attributes. You can actually type over the top, but what I find it easier is just right click, say modify, and then you can get the full view in a form of all the properties. So you could change it. We can see we've got the ID at the top, the name attribute, the screen tip associated with that hotspot. So very easy to and visible to. But what I could show you too, I think quickly might be useful, is to show you how we could quickly. We show you we can actually edit that. I'm going to take that spring here, which is call out number 9, and I'm going to say, just put something in it, and then show you another nice feature, which allows you to preview that graphics in a viewer. It'll launch the viewer. So we've got a little button here at the top. Now it's going to have to save that CGM drawing. So then here we go, and voila, there's here's that CGM in the Internet Explorer using our VizEx View plugin, but it will work with any viewer that you, CGM compatible viewer that you may have installed. But see, there's that spring, and there's our screen tip there that we edited in the meta view. I talked about the callout tool for annotating. I'm going to take this. We're looking at a drawing that's fully annotated with callouts, but let's going to take it before it was in that state and show you how we can use our callout tool to annotate it. First, I'm going to go to the callout window and make sure I've got, the properties I want. I'm going to start at callout number 1. I want to circle around my callouts. So now I go over to the left to start the actual callout annotation, and I select the callout, add callout tool, and I anchor it first to where I want to position it. Oops, I see I have my snap to on, so you noticed it snapped to the center of that little ellipse down there, but I really didn't want that. I wanted to, oops, we're already on to the next one. So, okay, so there we go. So now I'm adding callouts, and let me check a setting here a moment. Make sure I've got the, yes, I'm automatically generating hotspots as we go. So, okay, I'm just going to add a few of them here, enough to show the idea. So there we are. So now if we see all the callouts. If I click on show hotspots, I can see that those are all hotspots. Again, we may want to, let's see, I'm going to show you, I can put that metadata in again, that screen tip, and let's look at it now in, whoops, let's turn that off. And let's look at that inside the, oops, I have turned off my connecting line, my leader line to all these. But let's show you how we can quickly turn that back on. Okay, so I had inadvertently turned off my my connecting the leader line that connects the bubble to the point that I've annotated. But anyway, it shows how we can quickly correct that. So now I'm going to actually view that in the viewer. And so there we are. There's our annotated annotated drawing with the callouts, and you can see they're all callouts. There's the screen tips, and so that's the callout tool, callout and annotation tool. Next, I had mentioned that we can quickly extract drawings, quickly extract graphics from previously or legacy, either from CAD drawings or from PDF. And first I'm going to show you, take an example, a PDF drawing. And I'm going to open a PDF. Let's select PDFs on our filter there. I'm going to open that PDF, but I just happen to know that page 9 of that PDF has a nice graphic that I want to repurpose. I've got some extra information there that we're going to need to, or we're going to want to exclude. Another new feature in VizEx Editor, or recently added, is the convert colors. We want this illustration for publishing to be in monochrome, so I'll click and turn all the elements, colored elements, into monochrome. And then just to kind of finish up the process, let's add a hotspot on those callouts. Whoops. So there we've got a couple of hotspots on it now. So there we are. So now it's, and just to show that's now been made into a version 4 CGM file with hotspots, let's view it in our viewer. And so there it is. A CGM graphic that was extracted right from a PDF page with full vector graphics. And we can show you that that's full vector, because if we go to the selection tool now, see those lines, there's a Bezier curve there. All that stuff now is editable, so we could edit it, or in that case we may want to reposition it or something more appropriately. So it's all vector data, editable. Even the text is text, so we could I see that's in French, so we may want to turn that into English for our purposes. So that is the ability to extract from PDF a particular page and turn it into a CGM graphic quickly and easily. Now, along those same lines, we may have a CAD drawing. There's a CAD drawing that has been imported from a DWG file made in AutoCAD, but as you can see, it's got a lot of stuff. First of all, it's all in color. But it's got a lot of nice call-out annotations already placed on a drawing. But it's got borders. It's got a bill of materials. It's got a title block. I'm going to show you how we can re-import that drawing now. But this time, when I import it with our DWG import, I'm going to show you how we can turn off some of the unwanted information. So I'm going to see, these are the layers that are inside that file, and I happen to know that the really content that I want to publish or make into a CGM drawing are those 3 layers right there. So now, this time we're bringing in, well, we still got our bill of materials, but that's easily taken care of by just selecting and deleting. Now we're going to want to convert it to a monochrome, and this also allows me to show you one other thing, the auto hotspotter option, which will actually, I just clicked on it and notice what it did. You'll see over in the left that we got the metadata view now. That's showing all these hotspots. All those CAD bubbles have been made into into hotspots. As we can see, I'll click and so there they are. So if I bring this up in a viewer, show you that it's actually a CGM. So there it is in a CGM viewer. So a nice graphic extracted right from a CAD drawing with lots of good vector quality and interactive hotspots in just a few moments it took me to create that. So that's the end of our key features demo. And the new features, we showed you again how the new features, the Snap 2 tools, magnetic properties, the property windows, isometric views, the metadata editing, and then some of the key features, how we can take CAD or PDF graphics, extract them and make them into a version 4 CGM. So that's the end of our actual demo. If there's any questions, we could see, I'm going to look at our question window, see if we've got any questions there. I don't see any questions coming in at this time, but what I could say, one question we often get, it may be a dumb question, but it's one we could address is, could it open a CGM made from IsoDraw, which is another popular authoring CGM graphics authoring tool. So I've just happen to have one here that we could work with. Well, I can take other ones. For instance, here's one. Here's the graphics from that Boeing, from a Boeing drawing. So that's a nice ATA CGM graphics there. Let's see. Let's open another. Yes, here's one I have that was made in IsoDraw. So that's got a raster element here, but this is all vector data down here. So so you can see that isometric view. So okay, so I've got another question here. Somebody has asked, can you change the ID of hotspots? Yes, you can. For instance, here is the, let's take this one down here towards the end, and where you say modify. So you see the hotspots properties form now come up. So here's the ID up here. So let's say I'm going to make that ID 10. I may want to change the name attribute too. So yes, you can change the IDs of them. You can change the prefix that's used too, like we have in the settings windows. There are some things like we can assign. It's common practice to to use prefixes for your hotspots. So you can put in, I've used HOT there, but I could put in my own, and in that case, everything I did, all the hotspots I add now will have that prefix on it. So, so I hope that answers that question. Let's see if there's any other questions here in the little teeny questions window here that they have in the control panel. Okay, well, I don't have any more questions at this time. If you should think of some more questions, please feel free to email me. If you're interested in a demo of the product, we offer free demos, or I'd be willing to do a go-to meeting for anybody that would like a one-on-one demo. So thank you for attending. Recorded session of this and the slides will be available in the next few days. Send questions to me. You can review the product page online. And okay, I'm going to pause a minute because we do have a couple more questions. Can you fillet two or more of the lines together with a radius? And then we have one other question: are the arrows imported? Let me defer the one on the fillet of two or more lines. And then let me address that one in email. That was a little more in depth. Are the arrows imported as an actual arrow? No, unfortunately they're not. There's not a way, AutoCAD doesn't have a way of doing that now. They will come in, like the arrowhead will come in as a polygon, and the line, the leader line that's associated with it will come in as a line. So no. Okay, well, I think that wraps up the questions. Again, thank you for attending. There's the final information showing there where you can contact us or get more information. And thank you all for attending.